Hello and welcome to Mystery Monday number 11. Anyone missing at the apiary? Today there will be a few things different with our lesson. One of the things that will be different is that I am not going to give you vocab words. You are going to find 5 words that you don't recognize and or would put on a vocab list of your own. What you'll have to do is, just like we've always done, is write the word, write the definition, write the part of speech, and write a synonym and antonym for that word. And before we get too far along, I'd like to leave our scale up here, rating your ability to make inferences in the text. According to our scale of 4, 3, 2, 1. Remember that the main goal is to get everybody to a 3, but if you're at a 2 or a 1, that helps me sort of ask better questions and help you along in the process of learning that goal. One of the other main differences that will take place with today's Mystery Monday is that I'm not going to read it for you. At the right here in Edpuzzle, though, is number 1, the hard copy of the story for you. It's linked as a PDF. And number 2, there's also a link to a YouTube video where I've read it as an audiobook for you, so as a separate link. So if you choose to listen to that, you can. However, it's not a part of this video. You can read it on your own. Something new today is how we are going to analyze the close reading. One of our main tasks is to identify where the text leaves matters uncertain according to our scale, right? Which of these passages uh, tells us where the text leaves matters uncertain? What I'll do is put up the 3 passages, and you will have to stop the video and read the passage. Passage 3 is correct because we're not exactly sure what happened in that scenario on account of Hoffman's drunkenness. Before we can move on to the questions for the story, we have to talk about what is said explicitly. So, what we know about this story is that while Bob was a city cop, he had country smarts and he knew about bees. We also know that Ed Hoffman is drunk, which leads us to question his credibility. We also know that Bob realized something, not so much as he was walking away, but as he was driving away. And that caused him to turn around, right? And go back and readdress Hoffman. So these are the things that we know that the text says explicitly. Question number 1 says, what can we infer about Hoffman and his drunkenness as it relates to the final question? Question number 2 says, what can we infer about Ashby's ability as a police officer? Question number 3 says, now that you have read the story to the end, consider the following questions. What was foreshadowed near the beginning of the story? Something came up, was identified in the beginning of the story that seemed a bit out of place, but after having read the story, it made a lot of sense why the author would have put that near the beginning. What was that? And the final question says, what had Hoffman said that made Ashby change his mind? Having had experience in an apiary, Bob Ashby realized that bees do not fly at night. He also knew that Hoffman would know that too. An errant bee, then, could not be the reason for the gunshot. And now that you have seen the final solution, how might you change your answer to add to what you previously wrote to make it correct? What did you not think about? What did you not consider that made sense after having read the final solution? And for question number 1, well, what you should have written here was something to the effect that he loses credibility when being drunk. So, he might not be telling the whole truth. Question number two. What can we infer about Ashby's abilities as a police officer? Well, he is good at his job, though he seems to lack self confidence. He was able to make some connections, and that training, that well, not so much the training, but the experiences he had that gave him those quote unquote country smarts um, paid off in this story. And question number three. Now that you have read the story to the end, consider the following question. What was foreshadowed in the beginning of the story? It says early on that he knew about bees. He'd done a science project about bees. And we come to find out in the final solution that bees don't fly at night. So he knew that that didn't add up. And so it made sense in the end. Having said it in the beginning seemed out of place, but after having seen the follow through at the end, we see how that was foreshadowed and we see how foreshadowing works. And so for our last question, the learning goal question, where would you rate your ability to make inferences in a story, considering where the text leaves matters uncertain, your ability to pick up on nuance like sarcasm and irony, and identifying the evidence that the author uses to prove his or her point. Upon completing this question, you have earned 1 unit for today's lesson. Thank you and have a wonderful day.